Welcome to the channel, Retro Gamers. Paul here with Indie Pop Productions. A little over a month ago, I set out to make a video celebrating classic paddle controller games and to let you know whether or not the new paddle controllers created by Atari a couple years ago were still a fun way to play these classics. Things didn't go exactly as planned. The paddle controllers I got from Atari's own website didn't work, so they sent me a new pair with the exact same problem. And what started off as a celebration of this archaic control system ended up being a video that was a warning to not buy them. Have you ever gotten upset about something and opened your big mouth to make your displeasure known, only to find out that you were missing key pieces of information that would have changed things? Did you just want to keep your mouth shut and hope nobody would remember? Well, when you make a video about it and post it to YouTube, that last part isn't really an option. I'm going to replay the first part of that video here because I really like the part about the history of paddle controllers, but then I'm going to step back in, explain where things really went wrong, and finally get to play some classic paddle games. So stick with me while we jump back in time just a bit.
I'd like an Atari 2600 system, please, and everything that goes with it.
Everything? You sure you want everything?
I want everything.
Now you get a new low price, up to $30 a rebate office, and a free pack.
Is that everything?
It's not everything. You can get nearly 300 different cartridges.
300?
That's nothing.
That's something.
But it's not everything. Soon there'll be a voice module, trackball, remote control joysticks, and a computer keyboard.
It's amazing.
It's amazing, but it's not everything.
It's not everything.
Soon there'll be educational games, too.
Is that everything?
That's everything. For now.
For now?
If you've played a modern video game on a modern video game console anytime in the past few decades, you've probably played on something like this. There are variations on the theme, but at the very least, it likely had a directional pad and control buttons. Even if you've been playing on a handheld like a Switch or a Steam Deck or one of those little Chinese emulation machines, it's still more or less the same thing, just spread out to put a screen in the middle or squished together to fit a screen up top. Sure, there are exceptions. You might have splurged on a nice arcade stick, or if you love accuracy but hate fun, you could play with mouse and keyboard. We've tried touchscreens and motion controls and controllers shaped like musical instruments, but in the end it always comes back to this. This just seems to be, for better or for worse, what we've settled into. But that wasn't always the case. Everybody remembers the Atari 2600 joystick. But we had trackballs and paddle controllers, weird little disc-shaped directional pads with full telephone-style keyboards built in. It really wasn't until the NES, until we finally found something that would eventually evolve into this. Hi, I'm Paul, and this is Indie Pop Productions, pop culture from an independent point of view. And today we're gonna dig into Atari 2600 paddle controllers, one of the most archaic forms of input for home consoles. More like a spinner that stops before it quite goes 360, the paddle controller actually received its name as the way you controlled the paddle in Pong. Because of this, the paddle controller found its way into homes even before the joystick. But Atari wasn't the only paddle game in town. The Magnavox Odyssey 2, the Commodore VIC-20, and even the Apple II came packaged with them. Unfortunately, they seem to have died with the 2600. If you've watched any of my videos on the Atari 5200, you've likely heard me lament the fact that the console had several games that were clearly designed for paddle controllers, but didn't actually have any paddles to play them with. Since I recently purchased an Atari 2600, it felt like a good time to find out if the paddle controllers were as awesome as I remember. So I purchased this new set from Atari's own website. It is made for the Atari 2600 Plus, but works on original hardware. It comes packaged with one cartridge that contains paddle controller classics, Breakouts, Canyon Bomber, Night Driver, and Video Olympics. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe if you like this video. Liking and subscribing and even commenting and sharing makes it easier for others to find the channel and to make sure you find my content the next time I drop a video. I drop content like this multiple times every week. Now, let's go crack this baby open and go play some games. And the box itself is pretty standard box. Little ding up top. A little disappointed in that because, you know, the box is part of the collectability these days. But it's good. It's a nice box. Shows you what you're getting. A little bit of instructions, paddles, two paddles in a game. Go ahead and crack this open. All right, and then right up top, there's the cartridge. Got pictures of the games, settings for how you actually choose the games. It's not chose in-game like on a modern game. There's these little dip switches on the back, and you would actually move these dip switches around to those positions to pick which game you're going to play. I have to admit, it feels odd having a brand new made by Atari cartridge for the 2600 in my hand. All right, open it up to the next level. We have, let's see, okay, the cord, okay, 2 levels. We got the cables right there, the plug, and there we go. There are our paddle controllers. Okay. They're light, oddly light. These are lighter than I remember. It's been a while since I've held one, so that, just memory, but lighter than I remember. Nice tight turn. This is what I've been waiting for. Just something to give me a nice tight turn so I have good control over those movements. I am looking forward to playing with this. Okay, so it has been a few weeks since that unboxing. Things clearly didn't go quite as planned. I tried to put on the same outfit, but you can tell there's been some time passage because I went to Comic Palooza for 3 days in Houston this weekend and didn't shave while I was there, so no continuity despite the outfit. I got into the box, did the unboxing, hooked it up, and the paddles didn't work. I turned the paddle and just the slightest little turn, and your cursor would go all the way across the screen. There was no full movements. It was just touch it, move all the way. So no control, completely unplayable. Looked it up, found out that is not unheard of. Some of these do this. Atari does have a return policy on this, but it's 30 days. And I did not open that box for just short of 30 days. So I was right up on it. Because I was waiting to do the unboxing, have an opportunity, despite all the other videos that I already had in motion, before I actually cracked that box open. I got a hold of Atari, had a question to ask. They took a few days to answer. And then when they answered, it was too late. It had passed 30 days. So I got a hold of them. I said, look, I mentioned this before the 30 days, but I'm waiting for a reply. It took a little longer. They're like, okay, just make a video showing the problem and then send it to us. And I did, made a little video. I'll go ahead and play that so you guys can see that. You can see when I just barely touch it, it goes all the way across. Here I've put Circus Atari in, just a regular Circus Atari cartridge instead of anything that's on there, just to show that it's not just happening on the one. But again, just barely touch it. It's like we're not getting the full range of motion. If I touch it enough to make it move at all, it's going all the way across the screen. So we're missing this much range. Really, it makes these paddle games, unfortunately, unplayable. And then after that, they gave me no problems. The customer service was actually really solid. They were quick to answer. The time that it took a few days to answer, it was in their defense on the weekend. I'm sure they don't have people in that particular department all weekend, so it was just bad timing. So note on that, the product could potentially have some defects, so just in case, try to open the box and check it out quicker than 30 days. But they were really good in working with me and making sure I got another copy of the product. If you're thinking they might give me better customer service than other people because I am a content creator, yeah, look at my followers. That's not likely. I'm fairly confident that they gave me the same service they would give anybody else. So I do, you can't judge a company completely based on whether or not anything ever goes wrong. It's what you do when it goes wrong. So I'm not going to make you guys sit through another unboxing because the box is exactly the same. But I'm gonna go ahead and crack this open off screen. I'm gonna plug it into my Atari 2600. And again, we'll try to find out if the paddle controllers are as awesome as I remember. See you guys in a few. Same thing. You've got to be kidding me. A little while after I posted that video, I found a couple of OG paddle controllers at one of our local retro game stores. Didn't even record it. I just went home, plugged them in, and was just excited to finally be able to play these games. My stomach sank when I realized they were having the same problem. So, I started my research over with a key piece of information added to the search. Instead of searching for problems with new paddle controllers, I just started searching for problems with paddle controllers in general. This brought up a new culprit, confirmed by some of the nice people over at the Atari Age forums, as well as a couple of kind viewers. Turns out your Atari 2600 controls the paddle controllers through something called a TIA chip. If that goes bad, the 2600 still reads the paddle controllers, but it reads them in a more binary way, sort of open close versus full range of motion. If you're used to more modern controllers, think of it as controllers that it doesn't matter how far or hard you push the trigger, it's just open or closed, versus controllers that really allow you to control speed and power based on how far and quickly and hard you pull that trigger. If you saw my recent Whatnot retro game hunting video, then you know I recently got a really good deal on a 2600 Junior console, which gave me a good way to test my hypothesis. Okay, this is that Junior that I got from Whatnot. And I opened up on the last video, got it hooked it up with cords that I already had from my other 2600, the 4-switch Woody. I was having trouble with the paddle controller. And now I've learned that it's probably not the controllers. So, yeah, already happy that I've got them, but yeah, this is this is embarrassing. So now, having confirmed that the problem is in my lack of knowledge and a burned out chip in my 2600 and not in Atari's new paddle controllers, let's finally go play some games. If you're exploring paddle games, you have to start with Breakout. The 1976 arcade hit was an early port to the 2600. I've discussed Breakout and Super Breakout on the channel before, and have plans on diving deeper into the 2600 port of Breakout soon. If you aren't familiar, just a quick explanation. You control the paddle at the bottom of the screen to bounce the ball, or square on the 2600, up into the ceiling of blocks. The goal is to clear all blocks so you can move on to the next level. I would like to point out something I read about from many other players. When not moving the paddle, it seems to vibrate a little. I don't believe this had much effect on gameplay, though I would like to use it as an excuse for my poor performance here. I do wonder if this is in some way caused by emulation on the 2600 Plus, as I did not notice this when playing on the Junior with the CRT. Canyon Bomber is almost like Breakout in reverse. Instead of destroying layers above you, you're destroying layers below. Graphically, it looks more complicated. But don't let that fool you. Where Breakout is all about quick reflexes, hand-eye coordination, and precise aim, Canyon Bomber is all about dropping bombs and hoping you take out more blocks than the other player. Now, as with most early 2600 games, there are multiple variations. But to be honest, there are really only two with noticeable differences. Try this one with a friend if you can. Video Olympics is, well, it's Pong. So much so that when Sears rebranded the game for their telegame system, they just called it Pong Sports. I usually hate the telegames titles for Atari games, but this one is right on the money. If you know Pong, you know Video Olympics. You control the paddle and try to bounce the ball past your opponent to score. But this take on Pong is filled with variety. Obviously, you have tennis, but you also have hockey, and even a version that reminds me of a foosball table, amongst others. Unfortunately, not a lot of options for single players. Night Driver is a bit of an early highlight for the 2600, especially for a paddle game. The graphics are cooler than anything else this collection has to offer, and it is much more fast-paced. Maybe a little too fast. It's hard to control, a little frustrating, and at times even rage-inducing, but many of the best racing games are. And it's a special treat to be able to drive with a paddle instead of a joystick. Sure, it pales in comparison to the racing games that would be released later on the console. I would never pick this over pole position, but it is a nice taste of things to come. I know there are patterns that make this more playable, but I haven't found them yet. I'd like to apologize to Atari. I know they probably don't care. Big company, little channel, but still, I put out inaccurate information about their product, and for that I'm sorry. More importantly, I'm sorry for giving inaccurate information to you. I don't mind being wrong about predicting things like the future of gaming, but when it comes to my reviews, I try to be factually accurate. If my previous video scared you away from Atari's new paddle controllers, I'm sorry. Was it worth the journey? Yeah, it was fun. This 4-game cart that came bundled with the paddle controllers may not represent the best of the best, but it is worth checking out. Just wait until we get to Kaboom, Astro Blast, and Warlords. But what about you? I'd love to hear your experience with paddle controllers. Have you tried these newish paddles from Atari? And what is your favorite paddle game? Before we finish up, I'd like to take care of a little housekeeping. First, I will be at Classic Game Fest in Austin, Texas this Saturday. Not as a guest, I'm just going to be walking around enjoying the show like everybody else. If you're going to be there and you see me, say hi. I'd love to put some names to some faces. While in there, I plan on picking up something to use as a celebration giveaway once we pass 500 subscribers. That should be very soon, so stay tuned. Next, I was just made aware of a NES homebrew project that needs help. Build a Dog is a fun little Donkey Kong style game that is very close to its goal but could use a little push. So if you see this video within the first 24 hours or so of it being posted, go check them out. I'll link them in the description below. If you have a project you'd like me to share, let me know. I love crowdfunded games and I'd be happy to put it in one of my homebrew videos. I'd also be happy to review any of your new or upcoming games. If you'd like to support this channel and have an interest in retro game hunting, check out my link to Whatnot. If you sign up using my link, you'll get between $10 and $200 to get you started. And once you complete your first purchase, so will I. And I promise to use it on content for this channel. And don't forget to like and subscribe. I try to put out content like this at least once a week. Liking and subscribing, or even commenting and sharing really does help the channel grow. Thank you for watching, especially those that made it all the way to the end. And as always, I'll see you next time.